From the windows of a Boston high-rise, Emily Hartwell could see the city gradually changing into its autumn colors. She stood by the window of her spacious office and sighed with satisfaction. The major project her team had been working on had finally gotten off the ground, and the CEO herself had offered words of praise. "Emily, your work is outstanding. I'll be putting you on the list for promotion next year." CEO Marion Taylor's words were praise for Emily's diligence and talent. As a core manager at Nova Technologies, Emily felt that her 10 years of effort were finally bearing fruit. Her income was stable, and among her peers, she could be considered successful. "Thank you," she replied, remembering the Thanksgiving holiday that would begin tomorrow. It was time for her annual visit to her family home. Returning to her desk to check her final emails, she called her mother. "Mom? I'll be leaving soon. I'm bringing my homemade cranberry sauce again this year." Martha's warm voice came through the receiver. "Oh, Emily. Your cranberry sauce is the best. Drive safely. Jessica and the children are looking forward to seeing you." Emily smiled. Her mother's voice had a comforting quality. Since her father John had passed away suddenly from a heart attack 3 years ago, family bonds seemed to have grown even stronger. After leaving the office, Emily stopped by her apartment to load the prepared cranberry sauce and her luggage into the car. From Boston to her family home in suburban Newton was about a 40-minute drive without traffic. Listening to the radio in the car, Emily reflected on recent events. Since graduating from college, she had always been the financial pillar of her family. Her father's funeral expenses, her mother's colon cancer treatment, her sister Jessica's college tuition, the down payment on the house, and Jessica's wedding costs. That adds up to over $800,000, Emily calculated in her mind. It was a considerable amount for most people, but to her, it had been an unsparing gift. "It's for family, so of course," she reminded herself. As she parked in front of the family home, the door opened, and Martha and Jessica came rushing out with smiles. "Emily, we've been waiting." Martha embraced her daughter with strength. "Big sis." Jessica joined in, and the three hugged at the entrance. "Mom, Jessie, I'm so happy to see you," Emily thought sincerely. Entering the living room, she saw new leather sofas and the large TV her mother had been dreaming of. Emily had sent them last month as a birthday present for her mother. "It looks lovely, Mom," Emily smiled. "All thanks to you," Martha said with tears in her eyes. "Without you, I don't know what would have become of us." Jessica took her sister's arm and led her to the kitchen. "It's such a blessing to have you, sis. We were able to start the children's education insurance, and Mike's job has stabilized too." Emily smiled at Jessica's children, 5-year-old Emma and 3-year-old Noah, playing in the corner of the living room. When they spotted their aunt, they ran over. "Aunt Emily. Do you have presents?" "Emma, that's not polite," Jessica scolded. "It's okay," Emily laughed. "Of course I do. But that's for tomorrow's surprise." After playing with the children, Emily helped prepare dinner in the kitchen. While making the turkey stuffing, Martha touched her daughter's cheek. "You've lost weight, haven't you? You're working too hard. Think about yourself a little more." "I'm fine, Mom. I love my job, and it's fulfilling," Emily answered. "Still no boyfriend?" her mother asked. Emily shook her head. "I'm focusing on my career right now. Besides..." She let her words trail off. The truth was that most of her time and money were spent on her family, leaving her little room to nurture romantic relationships. "Don't worry so much about us," Martha held her daughter's hand with a serious expression. "I want you to be happy too." "I am happy, Mom," Emily answered with a smile. "Having my family healthy and well is my happiness." At dinner, Emily and Jessica's husband Mike enjoyed a lively conversation about his company. Mike worked at a local construction company, but his income was unstable, affected by economic fluctuations. Still, he expressed words of gratitude to Emily. "Without you, the children's future would have been uncertain. Thank you so much." Emily raised her wine glass and smiled, saying, "That's what family is for." Later that night, alone in the guest room, Emily checked the balance of her savings account on her smartphone. She knew it was significantly below the average savings for her age group, but she had no regrets. Looking at the starry sky through the window, she remembered her father's words. "Family is everything, Emily. Remember that." "I know, Dad," Emily whispered to the stars. "As long as I'm here, this family will be fine." Tonight, she would enjoy time with her family for the first time in a while. When Emily awoke, snow had begun to fall outside the window. The first snow on Thanksgiving morning in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Boston created a somewhat sacred atmosphere. She got up from bed and put on her bathrobe. From downstairs, cooking sounds and aromas were already filling the air. In the kitchen, Martha was preparing the turkey. When Emily entered, her mother turned with a slightly tense expression. "Good morning, Mom. Need help?" "Oh, Emily, you're up." Martha wiped her hands and began to pour coffee. "Actually, there's something I wanted to talk to you about." The tone of her voice made Emily tense for a moment. From experience, her mother's "something to talk about" usually meant financial issues. She sat at the counter and accepted the coffee cup. "What is it, Mom?" Martha took a deep breath and looked at her daughter seriously. "It's about the house roof." Emily inwardly sighed. "The roof? What happened?" "It was damaged in last month's storm. A contractor came to check it, and they said it needs a complete repair." Martha looked troubled. "The insurance won't cover it all." "How much will it cost?" Emily asked, maintaining a calm appearance. $70,000, Martha's voice became smaller. "But the insurance will only pay $30,000. The remaining $40,000 is..." She broke off. The voice again echoed in Emily's mind. Last month it was $5,000 for a new refrigerator, the month before that $2,000 for yard maintenance. The expenses seemed endless. But her expression remained unchanged. "I understand. I'll wire the money next week." Martha's face brightened. "Really? You're truly an angel of a daughter." She took both of Emily's hands. "Without you, I don't know what I would do." "That's what family is for," Emily cut off her mother's words. "It's important to maintain Grandpa's house." This home was the Hartwell family mansion that had been in the family for 3 generations. The old house that Emily's grandfather had built was a place of memories for her too. She understood the logic. However, deep down, the question of why she always had to pay was growing larger bit by bit. During the morning, Emily helped prepare the Thanksgiving meal. Making turkey stuffing, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, she spent warm moments with her family while preparing these traditional dishes. Even after promising to pay for the roof repair, she was trying to sort out her feelings. "Sis, do you have a minute?" After lunch, Jessica called to Emily in the living room. When the sisters were alone, Jessica took out a glossy brochure. "Look at this," she handed the brochure to Emily with excitement. "What do you think? Isn't it lovely?" Emily took the brochure. It was a catalog for the latest model BMW X5. "It's a nice car," Emily said carefully. "Do you want to buy it?" "Yes," Jessica's eyes sparkled. "I need a safe car for the children." "But Mike's salary makes it difficult, right?" Emily anticipated her sister's words. Tears welled up in Jessica's eyes. "Mike is trying his best, but the construction industry hasn't recovered yet." She took her sister's hand. "If I had about $45,000, with the trade-in value." For a moment, Emily felt an impulse to refuse. But seeing her sister's teary eyes and hearing her niece and nephew's laughter from the next room, she couldn't find the words to decline. "I'll pay it back in installments," Jessica quickly added. "A little each month." "All right," Emily answered quietly. "But this is the last time." "Of course." Jessica jumped with joy and hugged her sister tightly. "You're the best sister in the world." That evening, Emily was organizing her finances in her room. The laptop screen displayed records of her expenditures on her family over the past 5 years. While major medical expenses and funeral costs were unavoidable, normal living costs like roof repairs and car purchases should have been covered by each family member's income. Especially in Jessica's case, her husband Mike's income was not particularly low. Even considering the instability of the construction industry, an annual income of $60,000 was average for this area. So why were they always short of money? Emily looked at her social media. Jessica's posts showed photos of relaxing time at a spa last month, dinner dates with Mike at expensive restaurants, and pictures of her happily holding brand name bags. She said she'd pay back a little each month. Emily remembered past promises. College tuition, wedding expenses, none had ever been repaid. "I'm overthinking," she told herself. "That's what family is for, we help each other." However, her colleague Rebecca's words came to mind. "Emily, you're too nice. Being family doesn't mean you should be exploited." At dinner time, Emily sat down with her usual smile. The family conversation was pleasant and warm. Martha showed off her new jewelry, and Jessica talked about events at the children's school. "Emily, thanks to you, we are truly blessed," Martha raised her wine glass. "Having a daughter like you makes me the happiest mother in the world. We can live because of Emily," Jessica joined in. "I can't imagine what life would be without you, sis." Listening to the words of gratitude from her family, Emily felt conflicted. Being thanked turned her doubts into guilt. Am I a terrible person for doubting my family? That night, alone, Emily checked her savings balance and was shocked. Her savings at age 35 were far below the average for her age group. Her 401k for retirement had only minimal contributions. "At this rate, I'll have to work forever," she muttered, calculating her future. Outside the window, snow continued to fall silently. Emily lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Is my life only for my family? The question arose in her heart. Supporting blood family is natural, she tried to tell herself. But a sense of discomfort grew stronger in her heart. Her life had always been family first. Her own desires were postponed, she had no room to deepen romantic relationships, and she constantly saved money while her colleagues enjoyed vacations. All of it was to support her family. Is this love, or? Emily swallowed her words. To call it exploitation was too harsh a doubt. On the eve of Thanksgiving, Emily fell asleep battling complex emotions. The next morning, Emily was awake from early morning. Outside the window, snow had accumulated, and the fresh morning light illuminated the snow's surface. She lay in bed, organizing the day's schedule in her mind. Put the turkey in at noon, prepare the side dishes. She recalled the cooking plan she had made with her mother last night. Emily looked at the clock. 7:30 a.m. Originally, she had a brunch appointment with her colleague Diane. Since Diane also had no family, they had a tradition of meeting just for Thanksgiving morning. However, because Martha had said, "It would help if you could come around noon tomorrow since we have a lot of cooking," Emily had cancelled her brunch with Diane. After showering, Emily checked her mobile phone. There was a message from Diane. "It's unfortunate, but it can't be helped. Let's definitely meet next year. Happy Thanksgiving." Emily smiled and replied, then looked out the window. The snow had stopped, and the sun was showing its face. She suddenly had an idea. If I help with the cooking preparations, Mom might be happy. She decided to change her plans and head to the family home early. She thought about contacting Martha but decided to make it a surprise and refrained from calling. At 9:15 a.m., Emily parked in front of the family home. Although she arrived an hour earlier than planned, the kitchen should already be bustling. She took an apron and her special dessert wine from the trunk and walked quietly toward the house. She paused for a moment at the entrance. The old house covered in snow stood peacefully in the morning light. Memories of childhood flooded her mind, fishing with her father, cooking with her mother, playing with her sister, all precious memories. Emily quietly opened the door with her key. The hallway was quiet, and warm air enveloped her. Voices and aromas drifted from the kitchen. She was about to say good morning as she proceeded down the hallway but stopped when she heard her mother and sister's conversation. "That won't do, Jessica," Martha's voice said. "You need to think more carefully." "I know, Mom," Jessica's voice contained laughter. "But Emily will take care of it somehow. Like always." Emily stopped. The two were talking about her. Standing at the corner of the hallway, she listened to the conversation. "I wonder how much we can get out of Emily," Jessica said. "I got the new car, but next I'm thinking of asking for a kitchen renovation." "It's unnatural to ask for so much in succession," Martha replied. "Wait a bit. Emily is generous, but she's not stupid." Emily's heart began to race. This conversation didn't sound like a joke. She hit against the wall and continued listening. "How should I bring it up?" Jessica's voice continued. "Maybe we need a safe kitchen for the children? Or Mike's salary just isn't enough?" Her mother's laughter followed. "She's weak to the word family. If you say, for the family, she'll give anything." Emily's hands began to tremble. She gripped the dessert wine bottle tightly and held her breath. "Actually, Mike already got promoted," Jessica's voice grew quieter. "His annual salary is now $85,000. But don't tell Emily." "Smart girl," Martha's voice held pride. "We deserve a little luxury. Since Emily is so generous with her money, we might as well take advantage of it." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. Was this a bad dream? She leaned against the wall as if sleepwalking. "Mom, I'm thinking," Jessica's voice was heard again. "She still doesn't realize she's our breadwinner." "That's right," Martha added with a laugh. "Even though she bought the house and the car, she still thinks she's being helpful." Emily almost let out a small sound but desperately suppressed it. Her hands were shaking, and she felt her knees weakening. "We were really lucky," Martha's voice continued. "Who would have thought she'd become so successful? Thanks to her, we can live comfortably." "Yes," Jessica agreed. "Imagine getting $40,000 when there's no need for roof repairs." "The roof?" Emily gasped. Had the roof repair she promised to pay for yesterday been a lie? "With that $40,000, we can realize our Bahamas trip," Martha said. "Just tell Emily it's for roof repairs and she'll be fine." "She never comes to check," Jessica said. "She always sends the money just as we say." In Emily's mind, the world began to spin. Had all her love and trust been built on deception? The trembling in her hands spread throughout her body, and she pressed her back against the wall. "How much have we squeezed out of her so far?" Jessica asked. "At least $1 million, I would think," Martha answered. "Half of her salary is ours." The laughter of the two echoed in the kitchen. Emily felt a pain as if her heart was shattering into pieces. "But don't you sometimes feel guilty?" Jessica's voice contained a hint of hesitation. "What are you saying?" Martha's voice turned cold. "She's a daughter of the Hartwell family. Supporting family is only natural. Besides, she gladly gives money. Just say, for the family, and she'll give it any time." "True," Jessica immediately agreed. "Thanks to Emily, we can live such a wonderful life." Emily quietly backed away. Her heart had turned as cold as ice. With trembling hands, she placed the dessert wine bottle on the hallway table and reached for the doorknob. Tears streamed down her cheeks. In the brightness outside, Emily squinted for a moment. She walked to her car, opened the door, and collapsed into the seat. Then, without starting the engine, she just pressed her head against the steering wheel. 10 years, it was all a lie," she whispered. Memories from childhood flowed like a revolving lantern. Her father's death, her mother's illness, her sister's college, was it all planned? She took a deep breath, trying to organize her scattered thoughts. Stay calm, stay calm." She took out her smartphone and sent a short message to Martha. "Something urgent came up, and I won't be able to come today. I'm sorry." After pressing the send button, she put her phone on silent mode. Emily started the engine and began to move the car slowly. She looked at the family home in the rearview mirror. The house that had been a symbol of love and trust now looked like a monument to deception. I won't be deceived again, she resolved. As she drove, anger and sadness intertwined in Emily's heart. However, there was also a strange sense of liberation. All the years of doubt and discomfort had now found their answer. What should I do? Back at her apartment, Emily first called her lawyer. James Morrison was an old friend of her father and had handled the family's legal matters for many years. James, I need to consult with you urgently, her voice trembled but was filled with determination. Of course, Emily. What happened? It's about family. She took a deep breath. I need to act immediately to protect my assets. After hanging up, Emily opened her laptop and began to check all transaction records from the past 10 years. Bank statements, house deeds, car loans, everything needed to be thoroughly investigated. It's over, she firmed her resolve. I'm no longer the family bank. Outside the window, snow began to fall again. Emily stared at her reflection in the window. There were no tears in her eyes, replaced by a cold light of determination. The morning after Thanksgiving, Martha stood by the window, gazing at the snow-covered garden. Emily's sudden cancellation yesterday had been unexpected, but she didn't seem overly concerned. She'll call soon anyway, she told Jessica. She always prioritizes us. Jessica was sitting on the sofa, looking at something on her new tablet. Yes. But it was a bit strange. She hasn't replied to this morning's text either. You're worrying too much, Martha shrugged. Emily is busy. Besides. Martha's words were interrupted by the sudden ringing of the doorbell. The clock showed 10 a.m. Who could that be? Martha tilted her head. Emily? But she has a key. Jessica shrugged, and Martha headed for the door. When she opened the front door, 3 men in black suits were standing there. One was in his mid-40s with a strict expression, another in his 30s holding a document case, and the third was somewhat older with a quiet impression. Are you Mrs. Martha Hartwell? The central man asked. Yes, I am. Martha began to feel anxious. And you are? The man offered his business card. James Morrison, representative attorney of Hartwell Law Firm. He pointed to the man next to him. This is David Clark, representative of First Bank, and introduced the third person. And Robert Taylor, representative of Premium Auto Finance. Martha accepted the business card in confusion. What brings you here? We are here on behalf of Ms. Emily Hartwell, Morrison answered calmly. May we come in to talk? Martha silently invited them in. Jessica stood up from the sofa and stood next to her mother with a tense expression. What happened? Did something happen to Emily? Jessica asked anxiously. Ms. Emily is fine, Morrison answered. Today we have brought some legal documents. He opened his briefcase and took out a stack of papers. These are legal documents regarding the return of property. Return of property? Martha said with a confused expression. What does that mean? Mr. Clark stepped forward. To put it simply, the mortgage on this house has actually been paid in full by Ms. Emily Hartwell, and we will be changing the name on the deed. What? The blood drained from Martha's face. Mr. Taylor continued, similarly, the loan for Jessica Williams' car, the BMW X5, is in Ms. Emily's name. Jessica collapsed into a chair. This must be some mistake. It is not a mistake, Morrison said calmly. Emily initiated all legal procedures yesterday. Here is a detailed record of all amounts she has given to you. The document he spread out clearly recorded all payment histories for the past 10 years. The mortgage, Martha's medical expenses, Jessica's college tuition, vehicle purchase costs, and the latest transfer labeled roof repair, all were recorded with dates and amounts. But. Martha was at a loss for words. Emily loves family, for U.S. Financial exploitation can be a criminal offense even among family members, Mrs. Hartwell, Morrison said firmly. Ms. Emily has generously chosen not to press criminal charges, but she will proceed with civil recovery. Jessica looked up. Tears were floating in her eyes. Why? Why this? You probably know why, Morrison answered coldly. According to what I heard from Emily, yesterday's conversation was decisive. Martha and Jessica looked at each other. And they realized the terrible truth. Emily had come earlier than scheduled and had heard their conversation. This is just a misunderstanding, Martha said weakly. Whatever the details, legal proceedings have already begun, Mr. Clark said. He pointed to the documents. From today, the deed to this house reverts to Ms. Emily Hartwell. Please vacate within 30 days. 30 days? Martha cried. But this is my house. No, it isn't, Morrison said calmly. On paper, it belongs to Ms. Emily. She paid the mortgage, and she has borne the maintenance costs. Mr. Taylor added, the same applies to the car. We will come to collect it tomorrow. Where are we supposed to go? Jessica said, crying. That is not our concern, Morrison answered matter-of-factly. Ms. Emily advises you to look for housing that matches your actual income. Income? Martha was confused. Yes. With Michael Williams' annual income of $85,000 plus your pension, a decent life should be possible, Morrison said calmly. Although a trip to the Bahamas might be difficult. Jessica's face turned pale. Even Mike's promotion had been discovered. Let me see Emily, Martha said desperately. If we talk, she'll understand. Ms. Emily does not wish for direct contact for the time being, Morrison said firmly. All communication should go through me. The three men calmly spread out the remaining documents. Eviction notice, car recovery authorization, bank account change forms, all with Emily's signature. Please sign these documents, Morrison offered a pen. Martha and Jessica, as if in a nightmare, signed the documents with trembling hands. The situation they had once manipulated had completely reversed. That completes it, Morrison returned the documents to his briefcase. We will contact you later regarding the details of the eviction. If you have any questions, please contact my office. After the three men left, Martha and Jessica sat stunned in the living room. Outside the window, snow had begun to fall again. How did it come to this? Martha said in a trembling voice. Jessica didn't answer. Her phone rang. It was from Mike. What's wrong? She answered the phone. Mike's confused voice could be heard from the other end. I got a call from the bank at the office. They say the car loan is in default. What's happening? Jessica hung up. She finally understood. Years of exploitation had come to an end. Now they would have to live within their own incomes. Emily will still give us money, won't she? She weakly asked her mother. After all, we're family. Martha was staring out the window. It's over, Jessica, her voice was hollow. What we did was unforgivable. A year later, from the window of a high-rise apartment in Boston, a beautiful evening view of the city spread out. Emily stood by the window, gazing at the autumn leaves in a distant park. Her life had changed dramatically since that Thanksgiving day. The spacious living room of the luxury apartment was furnished with pieces she had chosen for herself. No longer needing to save for others, she felt the joy of living for herself for the first time. Cheerful voices could be heard from the kitchen. Her colleague and close friend Sarah was preparing Thanksgiving dinner. Emily, can I open the wine? Sarah called out. Of course, Emily smiled and headed for the kitchen. The cranberry sauce is already done. Having Sarah and Dan's family over for dinner was a new tradition for this year's Thanksgiving. Sarah had been a colleague at the company, but as Emily overcame her difficult period, she had become a true friend. Sarah's husband Dan and their two children had also welcomed Emily as part of their family. Over the past year, there had been numerous contacts from Martha and Jessica. Letters of apology, offers of reconciliation, and sometimes angry messages. Emily had processed most of them through her lawyer, avoiding direct contact. Occasionally, she felt loneliness deep in her heart, but she understood that it was a sensation coming from years of habit, not genuine loss. Her mother and sister had been forced to rebuild their lives afterward. Martha had moved to a small apartment and begun a frugal life for the first time. Jessica's relationship with her husband had deteriorated, eventually leading to divorce. With 2 children, she was now working multiple part-time jobs. Emily sometimes thought about her niece and nephew. They were innocent. She had anonymously established an educational trust fund to secure their college funds. That was the only way she could be involved. The intercom rang. Sarah's family had arrived. "May we come in?" Sarah's husband Dan's cheerful voice echoed in the apartment. The children, Ellie and Jake, also rushed in energetically. "Aunt Emily." Ellie hugged her. This term aunt represented a relationship bound by genuine affection, without blood ties. At dinner, while carving the turkey, Sarah said, "This is a special Thanksgiving." "In what way?" Emily asked. "Because you've become part of our family," Sarah smiled. "You've taught us that blood ties aren't necessary for a true family." Dan also raised his glass. "With Emily joining us, our Thanksgiving has become more special." Emily was too moved to speak. Tears welled up in her eyes. "You are my true family." "True family isn't about blood ties, but heart connections," Emily finally managed to say. With the sky changing from evening to night in the background, laughter and conversation resonated in the warm apartment. Emily was experiencing a truly happy Thanksgiving for the first time. Her new chapter in life was filled with true freedom from false bonds and connections with people she could genuinely trust. The first snow of the season began to fall outside the window. Holding her wine glass, Emily was confident she had no regrets about her choices. Sometimes life takes unexpected turns and can be painful, but she knew that new paths open up beyond that pain. "Happy Thanksgiving," Sarah whispered to her. "Thank you," Emily replied with a heartfelt smile. "This is the first Thanksgiving where I've known true gratitude."